All right, we're live.
Yeah, but then we got a couple more minutes.
How you doing, Steve?
I don't know if you're squinting at me or the TV.
Looking over here. Good to see you, Steve.
Likewise.
Yeah, I think
Wait for Angie to get back.
32nd.
Valley do a track meet in Oregon.
She did well enough to qualify. She was glad to be there. But then that wasn't her day, so. But there'll be more, so we've confirmed that. She's not done yet, so. She's officially graduated.
Yeah.
Parents are happy.
Yeah, time flies, huh?
Grind though, man, year after year. Yep, she still wants to do it.
Anybody else joining?
That's it.
So nobody else joined?
And it's already 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, here we go.
All right, here we go.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Call this meeting to order on June 28th, 2022. This regular board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ramirez, will you do the honors?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kramer has joined us.
All right, roll call board members, Mr. Ramirez.
Here.
Mrs. Susan Fobian.
Here.
Mr. Joe Kramer.
Here.
Gotcha, and Mr. John Hayes is absent, but we do have a quorum. Okay.
We can barely hear you, Joel. Just thought I'd let you know.
Joel, talk up one more time.
All right, can you hear me now?
It's our volume.
It's on our end.
It's on our end.
Oh, it's him? Don says it's him.
I think we'll be good.
We might be better off.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. Subject B, adoption of the agenda. Mr. Verdugo.
The recommendation is, thank you.
It is.
Got extremes here, huh?
Yeah.
No changes, and we'll motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. You're muted, Joel.
I can,
No, now he's muted.
Now you're muted.
If it's red, he's muted.
I think he said aye.
Aye. Okay.
we read your lips as you said
All
aye.
those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Here we go. Call to the public.
No question.
Two presentations, subject A, FY 2022-23 budget adoption, Mr. Verdugo and Mrs. Brown.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Brown up. So you remember the previous meeting that we had the proposed budget. So by statute, we now move to adoption of the budget. Just to note that the state did finally approve a budget. I don't know if the governor signed it yet. But we do have an approved budget from state, and it doesn't affect our proposed budget. Any changes was in the new forms which Brown would get, which I'm sure Steve would be excited about filling those out. And then we would bring that back for a budget amendment. So, but I'm going to Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. That is correct. So the memo that I submitted to the board packet is dated June 22nd, and very early in the morning of June 23rd, the state approved the budget. The new budget and final budget for the state for next fiscal year is not reflected on the forms that you have in front of you tonight. Okay. The state is working to interpret all the new changes for next year's budget, and they will be developing and releasing new budget forms, which we have not seen as of today. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, we have until September 15th by statute to revise our budget to the new forms. So we are expecting them here shortly, but as of today, I still don't have them. And yes, I'll be very excited to fill out the new forms because they come with a lot of positives for our district and for education in general across the state. So I'll bring good news pretty soon before September 15th. So the budget that you have in front of you for the budget adoption, it's just going through the exercise and the motions of our annual budget process. We first propose the budget, then we advertise that budget, and now we adopt the budget. I can report that no one has reached my office to request any information or any general questions from the public as to what is in our budget for next year. So the budget that you have in front of you for tonight's adoption is identical to the one that I presented last year, which gives you the, I'm just going to highlight the balance or the budget for the major funds. In M&O, we have 31,277,961. Okay. Part of that $31.2 million is our M&O Override, or 9% M&O Override, which came in at $2,077,100. That is a figure that is not going to change. So when I come back in August, early September to revise the budget, the amount of the override will not be modified. That will remain the same, okay? And then on our capital fund, it's $3.5 million, and our classroom site fund, $3.2 million. So that's, if anybody has any questions, that is the adopted budget.
Ms. Bowie,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez,
I have none either.
Mr. Kramer. No questions, and I have none. Okay. Motion to adopt the FY 2022-2023 budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you, Sally. Subject B, Superintendent's report. Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it fairly short this evening, since I'll be talking a lot later during my goal presentation. Just wanted a few items, as we just mentioned, that the state did pass a budget, and it was a bipartisan budget for the first time in maybe history. And so there was a lot of support and things included from a superintendent group that I was part of, as well as we solicited some support from our local communities, including, I wanted to acknowledge the Chamber of Commerce, the Santa Cruz Nogales Chamber of Commerce, for their support, because they wrote a letter from their board supporting the endeavors that we were pushing for more funding in education. And so we did send them a thank you letter, but I wanted to acknowledge them publicly for their support, because very important business community and the education community come together to again support education in general. So I just want to say thank you to them publicly, and that's it. Thank you.
Subject C, Governing Board's members report. Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Yes, first I wanted to recognize the students who participated in the internship with the Santa Cruz County Bureau. I think that was really, they did such a good job, and I hope that the experience that they gained through the internship helps them later on in their future endeavors. So, and thank you, Mr. Stala, for getting that news out there through the site. I thought it was really cool. I read a bunch of other things as well. So really good news. And I wanted to recognize Ali Shadler, who ran in the outdoor national championships. I asked Mr. Shadler right now about her, and he said it wasn't one of her greatest days, but still that she's out there and that she's from our community and represents us with that good old fashioned Hawk pride. It's something else. So congrats not only to her, but to Mr. Shadler as well, because she's just phenomenal. She's got a lot of accolades, and even though she didn't have the greatest meet, like Mr. Shadler said, I'm sure she's going to have some other ones coming up, so in which she'll do well. So good job, Ali. And I also wanted to recognize Juan Orellana. He's really been the sensation in La Voz. Basically, he's a singer, and he graduated in the class of 2013. He was one of my former German students, just a really good kid, and was also with Halcones Musical. It was a group, it was a club when he was in high school, and he was a singer there. And I wrote down, I think, one of his quotes. He said, music can change the world. He said that was his senior quote. So it's really something else that he said that because, wow, he's really been a sensation. And I hope you guys get a chance to read about him, and see him on Facebook. So he's a really good kid. And he's, like I said, he's one of us. And he too represents us still with a lot of good old fashioned Hawk pride. So good job. And kudos to you, Yvonne, if you happen to hear this. Your father does. What else? Oh, and I wanted to also talk about how people in the community have been really excited about us building the pool, Mr. Verdugo, and they just wanted to know from you and Mr. Fanning how things were going to go with regard to signing up in the summer. It was a concern of those, but a concern of theirs, and but I was very pleased that you let me know that there'll be another section of that pool in which the public will be able to use, and I think we're going to have some kind of ID system according to what you told me, so that we know that the people in our community are using the pool and there's no, abuse or anything of that, because of course, it's our taxpayers that really be using that pool. But people are just excited about it, really excited about it. They're looking forward to being able to use not only that, but other facilities in the summer. So good job to you and Mr. Fanning, and I hope everything works out. I know, John, that's going to be one heck of a job for you when it comes. It's going to be a lot of work, I'm sure. But I'm sure you're ready for the challenge like usual. Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Ms. Bobby.
It's actually Phobian,
Phobian.
just after so many years.
Yeah.
It's been a little quiet, and that's probably nice for everybody. It was nice to see in the Nogales International that we got some coverage on Mr. Laughlin and Mr. Moen being in charge coach and assistant coach for the baseball, and got a photo and everything. It was like that. And let me see. Oh, CTE shirt. Thank you, CTE Department of Rio Rico High School, for this lovely new shirt. That's nice to be thought of. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Kramer.
All right. No, it's just interesting to obviously be on this side of the camera, see how it works. What's that?
Hold on one moment.
Kramer, hang on. You started off good, but your voice faded.
And that's why we continue doing this, right?
Talking now.
Still can't hear you.
Wow. And I'm saying such nice things about you, Mr. Beach.
Okay, continue with those nice things.
You can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully we get this figured out before school starts of this audio video stuff. Anyway, no, it's good that that things like this, that where I'm at right now, obviously, I'm sitting in my son's room. You can see the K for Caleb, obviously. But with COVID going on, and like somebody said, wow, that's your second time. And I said, yeah, a few people have actually said that. But it's been like a cold. And I'll say that because that's what people around here are saying. Oh, they're getting it. Some people are saying, oh, I just have a cold. It's a summer cold. Well, I guess that's why the uptick of COVID is happening, because a lot of people think it's a cold and it actually isn't, but it's not so bad. Again, the symptoms are like a cold. So I just want to bring that up because I think this obviously is going to continue. And once we get to our school starting here in 2 months, that we take a look at this and how this may be impacting again, especially for the start of school. Because again, symptoms are very, very mild. It is like a cold. I still have a raspy voice a bit, but other than that, that's what it is. So I just hopefully that people take this into consideration of, hey, maybe if you do have a cold, kind of take a little more concern of it and hopefully address that. With that said, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. I just want to piggyback off what Renee said earlier. It's good to see our students representing Rio Rico High School at the national level and also competing at that level. It's definitely intense. Yeah. And I heard Tubac might not have the 4th of July this year. I'm not sure if anybody else heard that. But I know Mr. Verdugo, you had stated in the past that you would like our school to be the hub. And once we get the swimming pool open, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the track, the football field up and running, that we might host 4th of July here, hopefully maybe next year. So that'd be amazing for our community. Yep, and hopefully bring in some revenue also. That being said, hopefully everybody's enjoying their summer and we'll move on. Item number 3, information, discussion, action, subject A, FY 22-23 student fee schedule, Mr. Verdugo and Ms. Brown.
Thank you. This was a question by Mr. Kramer and the board for us suspending fees. I don't want to say remove fees because we could bring them back at a later date. Again, we do this annually. And so one of the things that we took into consideration was, Mr. Kramer's comments and the board's comments about the way the community is as far as what's happening with our economy, price of gas, all of those different things. And when we were discussing that, one of the things that we had discussed was the possibility of suspending athletic fees. And so we thought that was a good idea, but we also felt that if we're going to suspend athletic fees, that we should suspend academic fees as well, not just focus on the athletic portion. So the recommendation tonight, you received a highlighted copy. All of the highlighted portion is what is recommended to be suspended for this year. And then the other portion are fees that, in talking with the site and the clubs, that they feel are necessary for the function of their club and that they actually use those funds. And so, Ms. Brown, turn over to you if you have any other additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. No additional comments to add. I did provide the board also with an average of what the amount of revenue that it generates from the fees. So you have that information in place that can guide you in your decision. So it's just for discussion.
Okay. So is there any questions from the board? Again, this is again to recognize that the need from our families to suspend those fees. And we do have it in our budget to cover as needed, as well as the site will also have their additional funds that they normally use as well.
And one thing that I do want to highlight is that the district, even in the years where we have the fees in place, even with those that are not highlighted, if a family has a financial hardship, they cannot afford the fee, we must waive that fee. Even if the fee is approved by the board, even if, we put in place those that are not highlighted in magenta or in pink in your copy, we must have a procedure in place to be able to waive those fees if a family is having financial difficulty.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for that info.
Mr. Kramer?
Mr. Beach,
Yes. Do you have anything to add or questions?
no, I think that we all see they're highlighted in pink, athletic fees, class fees, and everything on that list that we are suspending for this school year, which I think is a very good step forward, especially during the current situation, as Mr. Verdugo mentioned, especially the economic situation of, well, everyone, that not only the athletic fees, but the class fees, I think is a good step, and certainly is a good token of saying we're cutting taxes for our people, our parents in our school, and especially in high school. So with that said, I'm glad we did this.
Thanks, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Beach. Something came to mind right now when I was looking at the ceramics one. I was thinking, Ms. Van Dyne is a very good friend of mine, and I remember when she first started teaching at Rio Rico High School, she taught ceramics, and she would tell me about how expensive it was to buy clay and all kinds of materials for that class. So, Ms. Verdugo, I just want to make sure that we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater here, that we're not, that we're going to have enough sufficient materials for everybody. And I was wondering whether it'd be wise to ask them maybe, did you guys talk to everybody? Because I want to make sure we're not shortchanging any teachers.
No, and so that's one of the things that we as Mr. Brown was talking about, those fees actually don't necessarily, those are things that we provide for the class. And so those are things that we've really moved towards within our district. So one of the things that we've really worked hard is that we don't want parents to pay for supplies. We don't want teachers to pay for supplies. So we budget that. So now our parents don't get that long list of supplies. We actually pay for those. And any teacher that has a need, we have instructed the principals that teachers should come to the principal and say, I need this. And then it is our job to provide that. So we don't want to have teachers, you hear the stories of teachers spending half their paycheck on supplies for students. We are very cognizant of that. And over the last, I would say 4 years or 5 years, maybe even longer, that we've worked really hard to eliminate that. Because we know how hard teachers work, and we want to make sure that our students are provided with any supply that they need. And it's actually in our board policy that we will provide all supplies.
Thank you, sir. I just want to make sure that we're not shortchanging anybody.
It's a great
But,
question.
thank you. I'm very happy, by the way, that we're saving the public this kind of money at the beginning of the school year, because they already have tons of expenses just getting their kids ready for the first days of school, or for school in general. I mean. So yeah, I'm happy about this, especially with this terrible price of gas and inflation at the grocery store and all over the place. It's great to save them some money. So thank you.
Ms. Bobby?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it was a well-researched and thought-out decision, and I'm sure it will be appreciated by parents.
Yep, definitely appreciate it. I know the parents in our community, our students, grandparents, everyone, every little bit helps, especially with the price of groceries, gas. So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Did the right thing. So this is a motion item, motion to approve, should I say the non-highlighted student fees and tuition for the 2022-2023 school year as presented? Correct. Okay.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion passes. Right along. Subject B, release of contract for Mrs. Marichu M. Yamson.
Thank you. I was waiting for a possibility of a revised letter, which we did not receive, requesting any waive liquidated damages. This individual has chosen to take a different position and this is asking for release of contract. So my recommendation is to release Yamson from her contract and assess the liquidated damages. $3,000.
Discussion, Ms. Fobian. Mr. Ramirez,
I have none. Thank you.
Mr. Kramer. None, and I have none. Let's go, motion to release Ms. Marichu M. Yamson from her 2022-2023 contract and assess the liquidated damages in the amount of $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion passes. It says subject C, 2022-2023 tax rate. That would be Mr. Verdugo and Mrs. Brown.
Thank you. This is one of the highlights of the year, I know, for our community, knowing what the tax rate will be. And I'd like to thank Ms. Brown for all of her work and putting this presentation together because it is, like I said, very much interest in our community. And this allows us to go out in the community and explain because of the bond, the override, and the support that we receive in the community, how much they're going to be paying in the sense of what the rates are. It doesn't always equate to a reduction when you see that the tax rate goes down because the values have increased. And so, but I'm going to let Ms. Brown explain that through her presentation. Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Hi again. We'll continue on with the good news. In this case, we're going to have an opportunity to review the tax rate that we're recommending. Okay. Was recommended to this board, but the board that is actually has the authority to set the tax rate is the Board of Supervisors. So this is a recommendation from our district. School districts have the potential to levy two types of tax rates, a primary and a secondary. The primary is linked to the normal budget that we have in place, like the one we just approved tonight, right? And then when, and that the primary tax rate provides revenues for major levy funds, or M&O or capital, okay? And actually the legislature just suspended the local tax rate that will fund a portion of our budget limits, the county tax rate that was suspended for next year. That will not, this does not have an impact on the calculation of our primary rate for our entity. That's at the county level. Nonetheless, the primary tax rate provides revenue for M&O and capital. And then when we have school districts that identify needs that go above and beyond those budget limits, that's when we have to put in place, if approved by the borders, a secondary tax rate. In our case, the secondary tax rate provides funds for 9% override and to pay back our debt, which is the bonds that we're using right now for all the construction. The tax rate calculation responds to the assessed valuation. As Mr. Verdugo mentioned, we've all seen it in our own properties. We've seen it in the news. The values of properties are increasing and continue to increase. For the purpose of tax valuations, it's different than market. Okay, some of us can go back tonight and look at what the value of your home is compared to last year, and it's probably going to be more than a 5.8% increase. But that's the market value. It's different than the value that the assessors assigns for taxation. For taxation purposes, they did a 5.8% increase from last year. The way our tax rate responds is whenever there is an increase in the assessed valuation, then the state pays us more, gives us less money, and more comes from the local taxpayers. And the same is true for the opposite. When the assessed valuation decreases, then we collect more revenue from the state. In case you ever wonder how much of our revenue comes from the state versus how much comes from our local constituents, over 70% comes from the state in the form of state aid, and around 28% to 30% it fluctuates from one year to the next, but on average, that's what our local taxpayers contribute towards our budget. So I mentioned that whenever we identify and get approved to go above and beyond our budget limits, then we have to put in place a secondary tax rate. The programs that require that additional levy in our district is our 9% M&O override. You see the $2 million amount that I just shared with you during the budget adoption process. The cost to our taxpayers for next year is 0.5703. And I want to take this time to highlight that the district will continue to offset the cost of the override with our cash on hand, 50%. What does that mean? It means that the district is in a financial position to use cash on hand to be able to reduce that levy by half. If we were not to use that cash, then the levy associated with the override would be twice of what you're looking at on the screen. Okay. Now, I always like to go back and check, what did we communicate? What did we promote when we were promoting the 9% override in our community? The border information pamphlet said that the cost associated with the override was at 1.19. What we are recommending to levy for the 9% override is 0.570. So we're way below what the border information pamphlet said. Okay. Then the next measure is the bond payment. Start paying back for all that construction, those enhancements that we were introduced through the bond. Our bond payment next year, it's $2.6 million. The cost to the taxpayers for that payment is 1.4312. Once again, I immediately go back into the border information pamphlet. Are we within what we said it was going to cost the constituents? And we are below. When we promoted the border information pamphlet, it was advertised that it was going to cost 1.68. We are below. We are at 1.4312. The third and last program that triggers a secondary tax rate in our district is our participation in CTED. But that rate, that amount is dictated by statute. It's not one that I calculate. It's flat. It's the same from year to year. It has not been modified since they started with back then JTEDs. So then it's at 5 cents, okay, by statute. Now, let's take a look at how the recommended rates that you have in front of you today compare to last year's rate. So the primary rate dropped. And remember that as our assessed valuation increases, the primary rate will decrease. So this is just a direct relationship to what's happening to the value of our properties within our district. So the primary rate is going from 3.53 to 3.42. Now, on the secondary rate, it's going from the combined of all three, override, debt, and JTED. It's going from 2.1918 to 2.0515. Okay, that gives us a combined tax rate for next year of 5.4781 versus last year of 5.7306. The variance, it's a decrease of 0.2525. Okay. It's important to recognize, and this is always a question that I get, is that, well, you told us, and I saw in the board meeting that the tax rate was going down, but yet I'm paying more in taxes. And unfortunately, the amount, the value of the properties are increasing at such a rate that sometimes it just masks the decrease. Hopefully this year, the taxpayers will be able to experience and feel that decrease because the county will also suspend the county tax rate that's dedicated for education, because that one was suspended as part of the new budget for next year. Again, not one of our rates, that's a county rate. Just an example, if we take an average home value of 165,648, and we applied the tax rates that we're recommending, in last fiscal year, it was costing $949.21. This fiscal year that it's coming, it's $907.44. This illustrates where we've been with our tax rate as an entity and how we have managed the tax rate for our constituents. The goal is to level the tax rate to prevent spikes. No one appreciates spikes in our tax rates. So that's what I'm trying to do. If you see some spikes in there, it has to do with changes in the formula and the calculation of our override. Those were outside of our control. Moving forward, we're trying to once again level that tax rate for the years to come. Are there any questions?
Ms. Hogan?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Ramirez?
Actually, I was looking at the math. It's just we pay a little bit, a pinch more than 50%, right? So on the cash to lower the rate, just a pinch more. It's not an exact 50%, but that doesn't make a big difference.
Oh, the tax rate, you mean? Yeah, I mean, because it's a percentage of the assessed valuation.
I was just looking at the math.
Exactly half of the override authorization in cash to offset that levy.
Gotcha. Well, Ms. Brown, after talking to a lot of people within our community, I think it's so important to get that message out through them as well, because a lot of people are really confused about that kind of thing. So it'd be really nice for them to hear you so that they're not coming back at you to fry you later on after you made your presentation here, Ms. Brown. But you do such an excellent job. So I want to thank you for your presentation.
Mr. Kramer, we can't see you, but maybe we can hear you.
Can't see me. Really?
Hang on. Gonna split the screen. That'd be a good thing.
There we go.
Oh, okay. No, nothing to say. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for the presentation.
I have nothing. Thanks, Stella, for all the good information. Go ahead and motion to approve the 2022-2023 tax rate as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Mr. Kramer, did you say aye? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion passes.
Point of order. Mr. Beach, we didn't get your vote.
Oh, aye. Motion passes. All right, subject D, 2021-22 Superintendent's Goals and Performance Pay Plan, Mr. Verdugo.
All right, thank you. As Angie's getting the presentation put up, this is the annual performance based pay, which is required by statute to have a portion of the superintendent pay be performance based. And so at the end of each fiscal year, we either do it in the first or second meeting of June, where I present the goals for the previous fiscal year and make recommendations to the board and whether they want to approve or not approve my recommendation for what the performance-based pay is. And as we get into it, one of the things that I want to say to the board and to the community is I'm just always continually very proud to be the superintendent of our district. And it really is, when people ask me, do I enjoy my job? And I say, I don't enjoy my job. I love my job. I love the community. I love the things that we're able to do to provide for our students in our community and the things that we're doing. I know Mr. Rimmer was talking about the pool and things, and those are amenities that our community deserves. But on top of that, we want to be the best in everything we do. And that includes academics, athletics, facilities, everything that we do, we want to be the best at. So, I've talked about this quite a bit, that our slogan's kind of been above the bar, so getting better every day at what we do. And so hopefully these goals, this presentation will discuss some of those things. And as we go through, I'll be happy to answer any of the questions that you may have as we go through the presentation. Also wanted to just again remind the board and the community about our values, because this kind of drives all of the goals and what we do. And that very first one, reflective nature, I'm always looking at what we're doing and how we can improve and how we can get better. And then the other ones obviously are something that we take very seriously within our district. Just wanted to highlight the ones that I think, through the goal presentation, relentless work ethic. I think that as a team, we are just constantly working and doing things. I know we do a lot of presentation. Mr. Shadler and his team, our principals, Dr. Lunderbill are all part of this. I would love to say that the goals are all mine, but it's the team that really gets this done. And that very last one there, teamwork, is really the entire team that allows me to be successful and help our district be successful. So the first goal is student achievement. Obviously, that's the number one thing that we are about is student achievement. Our designated goal was to improve on the AZM2, ACT, and we had a study session earlier in the year discussing where we were at with MAP scores and things of that nature. The data hasn't been given to us yet for letter grades, and we are still waiting for that. We do have what's called a static file that shows all the individual students and how we've done it at sites, but it hasn't been disaggregated for us to actually use and talk to the board about. But the preliminary MAP scores and the data was varied throughout the sites, and I'm very anxious to see what that'll look like when we come back in the fall, in August, September, when we actually have the letter grades, and we'll be able to come back to the board. But for the sake of the presentation, I'll just tell the board that I'm never satisfied with where we're at. And I know the principals are not satisfied. I know our TLA team, I know student services with all of our special needs students is never satisfied with us getting there until we have 100% of our students passing. So when we get to the end, you'll see what my recommendation will be, but it's based on that information. Some other things with accountability and student achievement is we have 2 sites that currently qualify for results-based funding, which means they're in the top tier schools, which is Sancadao and Guatamundi. Some other student achievement accomplishments. that they would fit in other categories as well, but I think they are something that when we talk about student achievement has really helped us, is one-to-one technology and knowing that it's a tool, not a teacher. That just because we gave a student a device doesn't mean that they're going to all of a sudden be successful. It's just a tool that we use for them to improve and for teachers to improve instruction. And we still have a long way to go with that. But I also wanted to highlight that is that it's allowing us to help teachers be more successful in the classroom. Second one, their dual enrollment increased offerings. I want to thank Mr. Schott and his team, Dr. Underville and Mr. Moreno for all their work with dual enrollment. We led the county with all of our dual enrollment numbers. And I put this as a goal, a side goal in there that by 2028, I would love for 60% of our high school graduates to graduate with an associate's degree. So that's a very big, as I say, audacious goal that we have for our district, because I think, and I know Mr. Shaw is on board with that and doing everything he can to help us and school principals even involved as we've talked about adding classes to the middle school. So we're really working hard towards that because we know what that can do for our community. We know how that investment will pay us back. Because when a student graduates with only 2 years to go versus 4 years to go, I think it really sets them up for success in the future. And we continue to pay for AP instruction for our students' exams. And just some other highlights, we are one of the leaders for instructional time model with the high school and our middle schools and our elementaries utilizing that to provide teachers with needed time, students with needed time. And we were instrumental in passing that legislative initiative. And so we were, since we pushed for it, we were actually using it. Personalized learning, the planning and piloted our sites with a full implementation this coming year. Standards-based grading, again, planning and pilot with the full implementation coming up. Just one of the highlights that I love to go out and talk about our district, because we are there's very few 90 districts in the country, and our district is one of them. And what that means is that we have 90% of our students that are falling free and reduced. We have 97% of our students that are classified in a minority group, and we have a 95% graduation rate. And there's very, very few that fall in that category across the country. And again, we are one of them. So it's a tribute to all the hard work that our district does to make our students successful. Additional things, and I won't spend too much time on this because we've been through this process, but just again to notify the board of what we do. Every time that we have scores and we get that information back, we go through our AP process and needs assessment. What are we doing in all these different meetings, time frame, they're scheduled out so that we come back at the end of the school year and say, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, and how can we get better? And that's a very detailed process. I want to thank Mr. Shadow for that. He continues to help lead that. And it's something that we're principals together, and we talked about, this whole process. Mr. Fanning and I used to talk about what we would do this, put it in a binder and throw it on the shelf. No longer is that the process. We actually utilize it, and we actually have a plan, and we actually put the implementation to work. So with that, goal one determination recommendation is approaches, because like I said, this goal is kind of self-defeating for me in the sense that until we get to 100%, I can't really say in good conscience that I've met the goal. So my recommendation is approaches. So with that goal one, any questions that I can answer about academic achievement or accountability?
Mr. Ramirez?
No, I just want to make a comment that I think you've done a good job of surrounding yourself with people who are really sharp as a tack and hard workers. And also they have big hearts too, which is a big part of the equation in this whole thing. But they're quick and they work hard. All you guys work hard. And so I've dealt with you as an employee of the district at times. I know how Then he said it would always make me cross all my Ts and dot my Is, and I was a teacher, so that's, you may wonder, wow, he's on the governing board. I wonder whether that annoyed him or not. No, I think that it's great. I think that you work hard, and I think we hold people accountable. And with John, Steve, and Melissa, well, you were my colleagues. You were also my bosses, I remember, and I just remember that you always pushed us to work hard and do our best, and so you surrounded yourself with great people that work very hard. And like I said, are sharp as a tack, very good communicators too. So, and I think that's equally important. I'm sure you appreciate that as a superintendent, but I think you really hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that, because that's so important. Surrounded yourself with good thinkers. So good job, Mr.
Ms. Fovian?
Thank you. I love all of these. This is good, and it's a reality. We get to see you living out all of these things and making sure that they're always addressed. Thank you.
Mr. Kramer?
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Certainly, yes, hopefully that this someday will get to that point where you said, meets. But in the meantime, I guess obviously, especially even in this upcoming year, things are obviously happening throughout our country, but certainly our academic areas will probably are going to slide a bit until we get grasp of how to get these kids back on track. So with that said, though, you did a good job this last year with all your team. I mean, getting through the situations at hand, and hopefully we move forward to obviously improve upon each and every school. Thank you.
Yeah, Dave, been doing an outstanding job. You got a great team. You work with a great team. And I'm just looking forward to this new grading system that we're moving to. I'm looking forward to a lot of the changes that are going on with our district. And so just keep on doing what you're doing. I think you're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you, appreciate it. So the second goal is high quality staff. And I mentioned this before, but I wanted to put it up here. When you're a member of our team, you're a member of a special team. And that's the way I view it. That it's not easy being part of our team because there are such high expectations, and we want to make sure that each member of our team brings excellence on a daily basis, and that's the expectation. That's the standard that we believe in. That's why we talk about being above the bar. And this is not for everyone because it is hard work, but that's what our students, parents, staff, and community deserve. We're a first-class district, and that's what we're trying to bring. And so everything that we do, that's why we talk about being above the bar, is that we want to get better every day. And that includes hiring the best people. And we want people to know that when you're part of our team, that those are the expectations, and they should feel great about being part of the team, knowing that they are a special individual to be part of our team. So with that, a few things. We've worked really hard over the years to develop a detailed plan, working with Ms. Quiroz and the rest of the team to develop a recruitment retention plan, IBB, and all the different things that we put in place. And it continues to include one of the things that every year amazes me is the amount of longevity stipends that we continue to grow and increase with individuals that have been with our district 10, 15, and now that over 20 group continues to grow. And so it really is a positive for our district, recognizing those individuals that have been here for a long time. Again, we've had the electronic application, online recruiting, and then some highlights there that I really want to hit. Again, is the raises for teachers over the last 5 years. We're now up over 27% increase in the last 5 years. And one of the things that we've done, and I thank the board for their support in doing this, and the IBB team for putting this together, that we have classified staff that will receive a 30 to 30% salary increase, which is as I've gone to do other discussions with superintendents, they're like, how did you do that? How is that even possible? And I said, well, we've been working at it for having a great team, as I mentioned. IBB really focusing that and being able to be fiscally responsible over the years allowed us to make this investment in our staff. So I think that's one of the big accomplishments that our district has been able to do is really recognize those that make the least amount of money by supporting them with the salary increase. Again, the other thing that I have there is, and it's always kind of comes up every year, but we're close to 6,800 per employee for health insurance. And so it's something that we're always looking at ways to save the district money, but also provide that for our staff. And so through those work, we were able to add the Mexican insurance for our constituents to be able to go over and members of our team to go over and utilize that and save them money, but also save the district in the long-term money. And that's one of the things, and then allow us to then invest more into our staff. So those are things that the team has been able to accomplish. Different things there, the UA teaching fellows, we are now having more of our grow our own opportunities with the teaching fellows. We have people on campus. We're hiring, I think tonight, one of the teaching fellows, if I'm not mistaken, one of our internal people that or their aide moving in. I can't remember. We have a few people tonight that will be part of our own process. And just again, opportunities for leadership expansion. The class size, we still have one of the smallest class size, including a regulation to mitigate that if it does get too large. So my recommendation that I met the goal for this, because I think we've done a really good job. And also last board meeting, you can see that our retention rate was very high. I didn't put it in this presentation, but it's been high and consistent over the last few years. It actually has improved over the last 5 years. So any question that I can answer for goal 2?
Let's go with Mr. Kramer.
Yeah. Thank you for calling on me, Mr. Beach.
Yes.
I was just, okay, because with this right now, all I see is the PowerPoint presentation, which is fine. I can look at that myself. And I see you guys just in a little screen, which is really odd. But nevertheless, I'll talk to that little screen. With that said, yeah, Mr. Verdugo, this goal too certainly is the recruitment is certainly a big portion of what impacts your goal 1. Because you, by recruiting, not just you, but your team again, is getting the staff members in that have obviously sound teaching methodologies, good teachers, they're good management, classroom management. So certainly this impacts your goal 1 for next year of the recruitment. So with that said, hopefully that works out to that facet. And then actually this goal 2 impacts your goal 3s. So hopefully that will, again, this is a key goal, is getting the good staff, and hopefully that this continues, that you have the good staff and the retention of good staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Mrs. Fobian.
Thank you. A lot of this was covered when we had the discussion on the other, but yeah, I mean, the retention is so solid and people are happy to be here. So thank you. Good job.
Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, I don't envy you the task of trying to get people to come here and work here. It can be quite the challenge with the price of gas going up and thinking twice about driving down the highway to come work here and even retaining those people. So, and I'm sure you guys have had that discussion. So I was going to suggest that, but probably just preaching to the choir because that's a tough one right now. I was just thinking about that, but no, good job, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, very good job. I think with such a teacher shortage here in Arizona, I think you're doing, and your team is doing everything right. I mean, with the raises, with the stipends, with the trainings, with the online recruitment, with reaching out to the various organizations to get good teachers down here. And not only that, once they're in our district, to see with the low class sizes and good leadership, I think you're doing everything that you can be doing. So good job.
Thank you. So goal 3 is school climate. And so there provides orderly, vibrant. And I think this is one that I know Mr. Ramirez talked about the pool. And so I highlighted some of the facility enhancements, having a $22 million bond and additional funds that were sought through Ms. Brown and for our school facilities board. That work, close to now $40 million that we are utilizing to enhance and improve our school district. New football field, new track, new pack, new dugouts. The stadium will be under construction, new classrooms. Those are all exciting things. Learning spaces that we've been able to see within our district, playgrounds, roofing. Calabasas this summer, under Dr. Underwood's guidance, is getting new carpet and paint in all of their rooms. So it's again, all kinds of different things that are happening within the district. Also continue to grow and help show the value of our employees by the previous goal, again, from a financial standpoint, but also I know that some people don't remember, but I always talk about it, our welcome back. It seems to be an exciting event at the year to kick off the year. But when I first started the district, we used to have 2 separate. We had one reclassified and one for our certified employees. And I always wondered why. And now we have everybody, including our Sodexo partners, bus drivers, everybody, to understand that we are one district and we are all in this together. So also highlighted there the 301 leadership that I've been able to implement, and thank Mr. Heather and the 301 team for allowing me to do those things. So we have leadership that we do, leadership 1, and Mr. Shaw helps me with that, and then leadership 2, which Mr. Shaw helps me as well. But leadership 2 is something that we've been able to design that allows teachers that want to move into leadership positions. They get to shadow principals, and then we provide a substitute for them, or when an administrator is out, they become a substitute administrator. And it's been really eye-opening for them, but it's improved our climate and culture, understanding leadership and what the role of a leader is. Because I get so much feedback, like I had this whole plan and my day blew up in the first 15 minutes that I was on a school campus when I was going to be a substitute principal. Like that's a daily basis for an administrator, where you think that you have all this time and then they're like, I didn't even get a chance to eat lunch. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like being an administrator, is that you're eating on the run. And I said, that the great thing about being a teacher is you're in your classroom, you know when your day is going to start and when it's going to end, because you have periods and things like that, which you still have a lot to do, and that anxiety of getting that done. I said, but then you throw discipline issues or other things that happen, fire drills, all kinds of things that happen on a campus. I said, your day gets blown up. And so it's been really positive for those individuals and that to get that opportunity. And I think it really is going to, in the future, this was our first year, but I think in the future it's going to really help them understand what it's like to be an administrator and how teachers can support administrators and how administrators can support teachers, going back to that goal 2 as well, and goal 1 for both. So I think it's a real positive step that we've taken adding that class. Some other items there: expansion of our alternative ed in the middle schools. We're excited this year to start implementing. We added Spanish and we added the algebra, and we're now going to look at expanding that even further. So all the different climate things that we do, adding career college coach, an additional person, the counseling. And I put a few things down on the bottom because I know it's very hot topics that we're going to be discussing in the future. But from a safety grant, as well as our utilization of ESSER funds for $1 million investment in cameras and safety measures at all the school sites. including the ID cards, facial recognition, with some of our cameras, and being able to have key codes so we know who's on campus and things like that. So that's something that we're excited about. And then also I put in there that we're going to continue to review emergency plans. Dr. Lenwell does an outstanding job being the Southern Arizona chair for the emergency response team and scheduling some of those events. Again, an example was this year where she was able to organize and work with all law enforcement to utilize the resort for some tactical training, and got our students involved from law enforcement, sports med, and all the different groups, nursing, to be able to go and see what that would look like firsthand. So expanding those opportunities for our students, because we know school safety is such a hot topic. We're going to try to stay on top of it as much as we possibly can, because when you talk about school climate, we want parents and our community to know that our schools are safe, and that when somebody goes to school, that we're going to provide as much safety as we possibly can. And again, we're very fortunate to have the collaboration with the county, both for school resource officers. And so that's something that we're very fortunate to have that relationship that some districts don't have. And actually some districts have removed school resource officers. And we really love our partnership and appreciate that we have law enforcement on our campus. And I think with the recent events, I think people are going to want their school resource officers back on campus. And we've never pushed them away. We love having that partnership with the law enforcement. So recommendation, again, is that met the goal as well. So any questions that I can answer on those group?
No, again, just comment, I'm very happy that we invested a lot in security, and that we're working toward that goal already before the tragedies around the nation. But you're absolutely right. The public is really concerned about that right now. I'm glad that we're improving our security, and as you said, that we have law enforcement on campus would be really great too. So, Mr. Rizzo.
Thank you.
Ms. Bowman?
Thank you. You have such an inclusive attitude, about the district, and, Bruce, whatever anybody brings. I would have given you higher on all of these than you gave yourself, but you are certainly above meeting this goal.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Kramer?
Well, good job, Mr. Verdugo. Your bullets all right there. And hopefully that this next year, obviously we get started off on the right foot as we chatted before. And so hopefully that we don't have to chat about anything with safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, being a volunteer coach this year, Mr. Verdugo, walking on this campus, and I haven't been on this campus in a while. It's, it felt very welcoming. The students, very respectful. It's amazing to see there's, walking down the halls, teachers saying hi. It's just the whole school climate with the new field, the new auditorium. I mean, it's just, what better place to come and teach and come and volunteer at Rio Rico High School and in our other schools. And like I said, the school climate is right where it should be. So congrats.
Thank you. And then the final goal is community involvement. I know that it's hard to believe 8 years ago when I became superintendent that next week I'll be going into the beginning of year 9, which is really, it seems like yesterday that I started, to be honest. But I know this was one of the major things that the board was really emphasizing when I became superintendent, that the community involvement and being part of the community. So one of the things that I try to do is attend as many events, participate in many school events as I possibly can, and I would love to attend more. And that's the goal for me is a personal goal. I put it on there because I want to the community involvement, try to get to as many things as I possibly can. But I really enjoy being able to do community and civic group presentations, talking about the override and other general presentations and updates and talks about the school district from the Tubac Citizens Council to the Nogales-San Cruz Chamber of Commerce, being able to just talk about our district, and then also statewide, going to different groups and talking about what's happening now. Being part of West Ed, I get to do that actually regionally and talk about the positive things that are happening within our district. And it's been great to hear them say, oh, we need to come and visit. We need to see what you're doing because of all the different innovative things that we're trying to implement within our district. So that community involvement doesn't just extend from our local community, it extends statewide and now regionally. It's been a great opportunity for others to come and see what we're doing. Is that some of the memberships that I have there, and then I mentioned to the board recently that I was asked to be from the National Superintendents Association to be a superintendent mentor for the Latina cohort for 2022, and I actually had a meeting yesterday with my cohort for an hour talking about what it's like, and some of them actually have one individual that is just became a superintendent, and so he's going to be presenting his budget for the first time. So talking about that and what that looks like, and I can remember 8 years ago when Ms. Brown and I talked about the budget, and we were not in a very good state like we are now. It was about budget cuts and reductions. So I told the superintendent that going into that, I was thrown in the deep water and had to learn how to swim very, very quickly. But I had a lot of support and walked me through that. Now, fast forward 8 years later, we're in such a different financial state, such a positive state, and all the things that we're doing. Really, again, just been positive, but a lot of the community involvement that we've been able to go out and share the positive things and provide that support so that our community can vote and support for bonds and overrides. And during that time, we've also had some board changes, and I think that the board has grown, and I appreciate the support of the board. Again, just other civic groups that I'm a member of. The list I removed some because some of them shifted and things like that. But there's a group, and or this list continues to grow, and I'm trying to be as many organizations as possible. And I also listed here some of the things that we're doing from a communication standpoint. Shannon has done an outstanding job and continues to grow in her job. From the SB 35 newsletter, which I think hopefully everybody gets because it really has grown, and we're able to share all the positive things and different things that are happening within our district. And then Mr. Fanning in his role, that is now added to our community involvement, having that liaison to be able to get the youth sports and different things, and Mr. Fanning doing his youth camps and working with teams and doing things. So it's just been able to just continue to grow our community involvement. And as Mr. Beach mentioned, we want to be the hub, and I do envision next year when we have our food trucks and all the different things, that the pool going that we had, because our day to open the pool is tentatively scheduled as Memorial Day weekend, so we may have a celebration then. But I definitely see a 4th of July celebration with our food truck, student clubs, just really having a giant event down at our field, and with the pool, and maybe a pickleball tournament, tennis tournament, who knows, just all kinds of things happening in that area, really truly being the center of our community. And so from a community involvement standpoint, that's the thing that I've envisioned for our district, is to really be the center of our community. And I think we've done a great job of moving in that direction. So my recommendation is that I met that goal as well. Any questions that I can answer on the goal for it?
Mr. Ramirez?
No, boy, I keep thinking every time you mention all these great things and everything being finished on the pool and such, I think, wow. John Fanning thinks that he's busy now. Wait till that day comes. John, you better enjoy the honeymoon period. Thank you.
Ms. Bowie?
It's just hard to believe that you live in Sarita and yet you're able to do that much here, because you really, again, when you got hired, it was one of the things that we knew we desperately needed was somebody who would be here and interact with the community, and you've done a beautiful job of that. I know it's taken a ton of time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I sleep there, but I live here.
There you go. Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Verdugo, for again addressing all the concerns, as you said, from 9 years ago, certainly, and continue hopefully growing and getting involved in the community, because obviously our district is the one that's going to be moving forward and getting bigger and better. So continue that involvement for at least for this next school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, community involvement. That's a hard one because a lot of times it's after school hours. Like you said, you live here, but you live in Sahuarita. And they're also non-paid, a lot of these. But thanks, Dave, for keeping your door open to our community, reaching out to them, and always being around. Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. So the final submission of recommendation of the 4 goals. And just to clarify that the amounts are based on minimum that we could use in my contract, which is 3%. And so that is what it's based on. So 3% of my contract is based on performance pay. So 4,035.
Any further discussion?
I just want to point out that I think that not only is the superintendent brave to do this out in public, but that I admire him for doing it, because there are a lot of superintendents, Mr. Verdugo, that probably wouldn't do this at all. And public like this, they go into executive session, as you know. And I think when I first got here, I think we did, maybe the first time I was here. Oh my gosh, I think it's great. It's just another example of being transparent, and I think it's just really great. Another thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say is that a lot of superintendents don't have a vision like you do, and all of this great stuff that's going on in our community is a result of not just your vision, but your whole team. And that's great, because some people just don't do that. They just do their job and more time, and they don't have this vision. All this great stuff that we're witnessing now, it's a result of you and your team having a vision. So it's admirable. And I want to tell you that I think the board is, though we don't always see eye to eye on stuff and we disagree, and by the way, disagreement isn't necessarily dissent, but on big stuff, like even during your challenges with COVID, we supported you 5-0 and gave you full reins to do as you saw fit at that time. So I think the whole board has always been behind you and your vision, and it's great that you and your team have a vision. It's awesome, and we're starting to see the results of that, and we'll only see it more and more as we progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? No, well, those of you that don't know, Mr. Verdugo's vision, we had lunch the other day, and he's already talking about a train station across the way, RV park at the Christmas tree farm. And so, you know what? You don't think year by year, your vision is 5 years, 10 years. And, you know, this board, like Renee said, even though we asked some tough questions and disagreements here and there, we're here to support your vision and your team's vision.
Thank you very much. And like I said, we're never going to stop.
All righty. Okay, recommend action, motion to approve the 2021-2022 superintendent's goals and performance pay plan as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You see the little hand up there? Mr. Kramer did say aye. The ayes have it, motion passes.
And Mr. Beach as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, subject D, propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Mr. Verdugo?
Yes, and our next meeting is July 12th, but any items that the board would I'd like to see on the agenda. I know we have a few things. I know Mr. Hayes, who's not in attendance tonight, had requested something, and Dr. Leonard was working with the county attorney to see if we can get one of the county attorneys to attend a board meeting to discuss his request. Other than that, and any items that the board would like to add to the agenda, I'd be happy to write them down.
I have none.
This time.
Considering that we've had a rise in cases in COVID, I would like to see us have that put back on. It's been a while. I don't want, I'm not saying it to alarm anyone because I feel that way. I just feel that given the cases having gone up, I'm sure the public would appreciate us putting that back.
Yeah, I can do a COVID-19 update.
So I was going to mention security, but I think we're doing a good job of that. So
Yeah, and we'll be having that
wouldn't happen.
session with that as well.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Mr. Kramer?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
That said, recommend action, motion to approve. Is there an action? No action.
No action there because we didn't add anything.
Number 4, consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. Let's see. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a regular agenda item upon the request of any board member. Does anything need to be removed?
Yes, number 10, please.
Item 10, okay. Okay, remove item 10. And motion to approve the modified consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion passes. And Renee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask you about, I read your thing about how we have to make this move because of the ESSER funds, but I just kind of wanted a brief update as to what your plans are to try to keep them, because
Yeah,
I know that one of them was my former student.
Yeah, so we do have the intent to keep them. We notified them. This is just part of the process. We shift in funds. And so we are waiting for the 100-day grant to be approved. And once that will be approved, then they will be shifted into that. And these were temporary positions that we added through ESSER. And again, one of the things that we always try to do is when we add a position, we want to make sure that we guarantee that position, but also is it something that adds value to our sites? And so we give the principals the opportunity to review annually. Ms. Brown has come up with that form now when we do our allocations to explore everything on the campus. And so it could be shifting positions, adding positions, or removing positions. And this is one of those that we were initially thinking about removing. And then when we came into some additional funds, we said, wow, they would like to have them back. And so when we received a notification that we will have the ability to get a 100-day grant, which is again 1 year amount of funds, we'll bring them back for additional year. And if we continue to see that they are performing duties that we really need, then we will try to add them to our M&O allocations.
Okay, that's all I want. Thank you for the update.
Any further discussion? Okay, motion to approve number 10, non-employment of the following support staff members effective May 19, 2022 due to pending approval of new funding source. A, Rosemary Satowski, Cotamundi Middle School Office Specialist Athletic, and Arlette Salgado Jordan, Calabasas School Office Specialist Athletics.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion passes. And on to the next. Let's see, Mr. Ramirez, governing board meeting evaluation.
I thought you did a really good job, Mr. Beach, for your first time out. So, no, taken to the point. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Well, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. And all those abstain. One abstain. Okay. 3 ayes and 1 abstain, and the ayes have it. We adjourn, and the time is 6:18. Tim? I think that's it. Oh, we need the gavel?
Yeah, but-
Done.